Hello, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Shaun Slusarski. I am a PhD student in theological ethics at Boston College. And my presentation is called A Critical Mass, Liturgy and Protest at the US-Mexico Border. For decades, the Catholic Church has stood out as a strong critic of US immigration policy. Through charitable organizations providing direct relief to migrants on the border, as well as public denunciations of unjust immigration policies by the USCCB, the Church has advocated for the cause of the migrant. One of the most potent modes of critique, however, is the celebration of the Eucharist. For over 20 years, the dioceses of Juarez, Las Cruces, and El Paso have celebrated a joint Mass on the US-Mexico border. Two altars separated by the border fence serve as the focal point of a single Mass, concelebrated by both Mexican and American clerics. While we are not inclined to think of the Mass in political terms, I argue that this liturgy constitutes an act of protest against an inhuman immigration system. While reasons for migration are diverse, US policies such as the 1994 North American Free Trade Agreement have created economic conditions that compel people to seek work in the United States. Instead of providing economically disenfranchised migrants with channels for legal immigration, the US has opted for a strategy of, quote, deterrence through prevention, end quote, by militarizing the border and forcing migrants to cross in the most dangerous and desolate parts of the desert. While its effectiveness has been inconsistent at best, from 1994 through 2017, this strategy has resulted in the deaths of nearly 7,000 people from drowning, dehydration, hypothermia, and heat stroke. This policy has also made the borderlands into a site of, quote, low-intensity warfare, end quote. The mobilization of military technology, the hiring of military personnel as Border Patrol agents, and the institution of checkpoints that disrupt the free movement of people have led to the mischaracterization of peaceful migrants as enemy combatants. This has resulted in rampant abuse of detained migrants, manifest in a variety of ways, including the separation of children from their parents. It has also enabled racism against Latinx people that metastasizes into direct acts of violence, including the August 2019 mass shooting at an El Paso Walmart. As Bishop Mark Seitz observes, quote, the same deadly pool of sin that motivates the attack on migrants seeking safety and refuge in our border community motivated the killing of our neighbors on August 3rd, end quote. While the border wall symbolizes hatred and division, since as early as 1998, border dioceses have chosen this location as a place to celebrate the sacrament of divine love and human communion. Although divided by a border, the transnational Mass constitutes a single liturgy. Its annual celebration on Dia de los Muertos, a festive day in Mexican and some Central American countries, communicates a respect for the maligned cultures of migrants. It also serves as apt occasion for the remembrance of those killed by brutal border policies. The liturgy employs a panoply of symbols that demonstrates solidarity with migrants. During the offertory, for example, in addition to bread and wine, various other objects are brought forth to the altar, including images of Our Lady of Guadalupe, the protector of migrants, white crosses commemorating those who have died, as well as backpacks, burritos, water, and tortillas, which are the basic items that migrants bring with them to survive their harsh journeys. The sign of peace also takes on special meaning during the celebration. While the wall prevents handshakes and embraces, The pressing of fingers through the fence poignantly expresses the communion effected by the liturgy. Priest and activist John Deere has described the annual Border Mass as a bold political act that, quote, makes public our stand for more just immigration laws and policies, end quote. While some resist mixing religion and politics, religious rituals have long played an important role in the work of social change. Religious ritual inculcates a normative vision about the world that sensitizes adherents to unjust suffering and cultivates a solidarity oriented towards justice. Social movements scholar James Jasper writes, quote, collective rites remind participants of their basic moral commitments. They stir up strong emotions and reinforce a sense of solidarity with the group. A we-ness. Rituals are symbolic embodiments at salient times and places of the beliefs of a group. Their affirmation of basic beliefs seems to connect participants with deep truths about the world, end quote. Ritual also provides a medium for communicating complex truths about the world. Ritual also provides a medium for communicating complex truths to bystanders in a poignant and effective way. In some cases, the moving sight of a protest can have a greater effect on an audience than rational argument. Peace scholar Lisa Schurch observes that the work of peace and justice, quote, takes more than a sharp intellect, searing analysis, comprehensive planning, and quick diplomacy, end quote. While each of these things are important, quote, none can transform deeply held traumas, beliefs, and fears like religious ritual, end quote. For Catholics, the Eucharist has a privileged place in the Christian ritual economy, but few would think of it as an act of protest. Indeed, despite the high concentration of immigrant activists who congregate for the liturgy, some would likely protest against the use of the term protest to describe the Border Mass. Given the contentious nature of protests, this is a reasonable position. Nevertheless, whether the celebration of the Mass at the border emerges from the same motivation as a sit-in or a strike, protest demonstrations and liturgies have much in common, especially when celebrated at sites as politically charged as the US-Mexico border. Theologian Kyle Lambelet points out that liturgy and protest have related etymological roots. Protest comes from the Latin verb protestare, which means to publicly witness. And liturgy comes from the Greek noun liturgia, which means a public work. The public nature of both of these actions is crucial to their meaning and proper performance. Beyond this linguistic connection, the Border Mass also functions like a protest. It forges solidarity among participants. It propels them to work for justice. It constitutes a response to injustice that is nonviolent, and it instills hope for a more just future. According to Lambelet, there are three dimensions to liturgy that reflect both its sacred and political realities. First, liturgy is communicative. The Mass tells the story of the Christian faith. Through the liturgy of the word, revealed truths concerning theology and morality are proclaimed to the community. In the liturgy of the Eucharist, the Paschal mystery is performed and made known. The enactment of death and resurrection provides an apt space to bear witness to those who suffer and die from inhumane immigration policies. One Border Mass concelebrant, Bishop Armando Javier Ochoa, reflects, quote, in the spirit of prayer, we will reunite in the memory of all undocumented immigrants who have died crossing the border to better their lives, end quote. In explicit ways through the prayer of the faithful and the homily, the Mass makes clear that the current immigration policy of the United States is incompatible with a Christian vision of society. Second, liturgy is formative. It not only bears witness to the central mysteries of the Catholic faith, but it ethically molds participants for a life of discipleship. Lambelet observes, quote, as embodied routines, liturgies recruit the will by means of the body. They focus participants' attention on objects of common concern through bodily habituation, end quote. Archbishop Roger Mahony affirms the role of the Border Mass in this purpose. Quote, one of the greatest gifts of the Eucharist, he asserts, is that it transforms us, and it transforms us into Jesus Christ, and it transforms us into more active and committed disciples. Not only does it form participants as individual disciples, but it also forms them into the body of Christ. The Eucharist at the border affirms in a stark fashion that this corporate body transcends national borders. It eschews the division and categorization of people according to citizenship and calls participants to recognize the common dignity of all who share in the meal. As theologian Daniel Grudy notes, quote, the liturgy of the Eucharist is a place where we seek to develop a community that transcends all borders, that sees in the eyes of the immigrant stranger a sister, a brother, and a presence of Christ, end quote. Third and finally, the liturgy is invocative. It invokes divine action. This dimension of liturgy is what sets the Border Mass apart from other protests. While the Border Mass is indeed a protest event, it is essential to remember that it is primarily an act of worship where human beings behold and respond to the salvation worked by God. While the Border Mass may condemn unjust immigration policies and forms participants to work for social justice, it asserts the primacy of divine agency in the transformation of the world. In this way, it keeps the Mass from being instrumentalized for a political agenda divorced from its central salvific purpose. In conclusion, the Border Mass is undoubtedly a political act of protest, but it moves participants to root their politics in God's vision for the world. As Ignacio Ellacuría professes, quote, we should not be alarmed that our Christian activity is political insofar as it is concerned with the present state of society and with the urgent task of societal transformation, end quote. The Border Mass offers a model for liturgical political engagement. Perhaps the Eucharist could also be a resource in movements against other forms of social injustice. Furthermore, if the Border Mass really is an act of protest, then it raises questions about the political nature of the Mass in general, regardless of where it is performed. Perhaps we should see the Mass as the performance of another kind of world, another state of affairs, another form of human relations that both critiques the injustices of the world as it is, and yet also enacts the alternative reality that it points to. Thank you very much.